My address to you this morning is centered on our theme of the year 2026, which reads as follows: enforcing prosecutorial accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability through effective prosecution of high-impact cases without fear or favor. On Monday, the 12th of January, we witnessed the formal commencement of the 2026 legal year, officially opened by the Honorable Chief Justice Luke Malaba. We all feed into that lake, so we are all streams feeding into that vision. This occasion represents a critical juncture in the institutional trajectory of the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe. It is the trumpet call signaling that the race has truly begun. It's go time. At this point, our boots must be laced, our batons in hand, and our strategies firmly in place as we begin the set-off towards the finishing line. Following our intensive recruitment exercise in the final quarter of last year, I am confident that we are now fully equipped. We don't have any reasons for non-performance. As a strengthened senior management team, we are more than ready and eager to demonstrate our capabilities and drive this institution towards its strategic goals. Following the conclusion of the 2021 to 2025 strategic plan that was in line with National Development Strategy 1, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe has entered a new phase of development that coincides with the launch of the second 5-year National Development Strategy, National Development Strategy 2. The period ending in 2025 was one of internal stabilization and constitutional reaffirmation. Premised on the justice pillar of NDS 1, our previous strategic cycle focused on 5 core pillars: enhanced service delivery, improved rule of law, expanded access to justice, enhanced public safety and order, and reduction of corruption. By the end of 2025, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe successfully addressed several systematic hurdles, including chronic staff shortages and welfare disparities, while initiating the first phase of technological modernization in line with the integrated electronic case management system. While 2025 was about balancing the resolution of long-standing issues against persistent operational inefficiencies, we ultimately succeeded in setting a firm stage for the growth envisaged under the National Development Strategy 2. Our transition into the NDS 2 is anchored on the national vision of an upper middle income society by 2030. However, we must acknowledge that our ability to pivot from the previous 2021 to 2025 strategic plan to the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan is a direct result of the extensive support provided by the government through the Treasury under NDS 1. For the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe, this Treasury support enables us to shift our focus from internal capability building to external accountability and the delivery of high-quality justice. This support has been the lifeblood of our transformation, and the results are tangible across several key areas. Human capital and structural growth. In this regard, one of the most significant achievements was the approval and implementation of a new organogram. To mitigate skills flight and retain the brilliant minds within our ranks, we overhauled our internal structure. This structure redesign introduced 4 deputy prosecutors general, 1 secretary, 12 chief directors, 24 directors, and 12 deputy directors. effectively opening up extra promotional grades within the institution. All in all, 181 officers were recruited during the year 2025. The objective of the reorganization was twofold. Firstly, to decentralize oversight in line with the government's devolution principle. And secondly, to provide a clear career progression path for professional prosecutors, thereby reducing the brain drain to the private sector and foreign jurisdictions. Prior to these organogram reforms, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe had struggled with persistent staff and skills shortages, which plagued the effectiveness of prosecution effort. Although officers were being continuously recruited to fill vacant posts, resignations continued to be a factor. Furthermore, the harmonization of conditions of service with those of the other state institutions in the justice delivery sector was a critical step in addressing these concerns, ensuring that public prosecutors no longer felt economically disadvantaged compared to their counterparts on the bench or elsewhere. The introduction of chief directors and deputy prosecutor generals allows for more granular management of specialized units as well as quality of work in the superior courts and across the provinces to harness this into tangible results as reduced to clear backlog and decongest prisons. Mobility and infrastructure. I have always maintained that a prosecutor's reach must be as wide as the law itself. However, for that reach to be effective, it must be supported by a robust and mobile infrastructure. Under our previous strategic plan, we invested heavily in our fleet to eliminate the logistical barriers that once hindered our efficiency. By acquiring 10 new buses distributed across all provinces, we have ensured that our staff can reach their stations reliably and on time, maintaining the momentum of our daily operations. So, Chief Magistrate, if you find our prosecutors late in court, it's not as a result of transport. You should not condone any lateness. Beyond staff transit, we have significantly expanded our vehicle fleet to ensure our teams are fully mobile across every district in the country. This mobility is the lifeblood of our circuit court system, which brings justice to the most remote corners of Zimbabwe. By ensuring our prosecutors can reach these remote areas, we are bridging the gap between urban and rural legal access. In tandem with our digital efforts, these circuit courts ensure that geography is no longer a barrier to the law, fulfilling our national pledge that no one and no place is left behind. Recognizing that people are our greatest strength, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe has made significant strides in improving staff welfare. Beyond the harmonization of salaries, the authority secured 57 housing stands for prosecutors and is renovating offices across the country. In line with international best practice, prosecution offices are being separated from court buildings to ensure operational independence. Zimbabwe's justice delivery system does not operate in a vacuum. Digital modernization and IECMS. The future of justice across the world is digital. With Treasury's backing, we are not just talking about innovation, we are driving it. We are also indebted to the Ministry of Information, Communication, Postal and Courier Services for the capacitation towards the integrated electronic case management system. The ministry supported us with laptops, printers, as well as 56 Starlink kits. We have rolled out high-speed Wi-Fi connectivity across all the provinces, specifically to support the implementation of the electronic case management system. This technology ensures that our transition to a paperless, transparent, and efficient system is seamless as we move towards a comprehensive e-justice framework as envisaged in the National Development Strategy 2. Our 2026 to 2030 strategic plan takes this a step further. We are prioritizing remote hearings and virtual courts to ensure that distance is no longer a barrier to the courtroom. We are bringing the scales of justice directly to the people. However, the authority remains cognizant of the digital divide in Zimbabwe, where poor internet connectivity and technological illiteracy can hinder the adoption of such systems. In this regard, we are grateful to the Judicial Services Commission for mitigating this risk through establishing internet hubs at all provincial stations across the country. Whenever we are down, we make use of these hubs. Thank you very much, Judicial Services Commission. These hubs provide free internet, computers, and staff assistance, ensuring that even indigent litigants can interact with the digital justice system. Strategic partnerships and capacity building. During the implementation of NDS-1, we have intentionally cultivated robust alliances with development partners and key stakeholders. These relationships have been transformative, moving beyond mere collaboration to become a catalyst for institutional growth. Through these partnerships, we have successfully bolstered our internet capacity, ensuring our prosecutors are equipped with world-class skills and resources. More importantly, this engagement has strengthened mutual cooperation and fostered a culture of heightened transparency and accountability. By opening our processes to collaborative scrutiny and support, we have ensured that the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe remains an institution that is not only effective, but also earns and maintains the public trust. Interagency cooperation. In an era of increasing complex crime, the era of the silo is over. As the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe, we recognize that justice is a shared responsibility, requiring a unified shield forged through deep mutual cooperation across every link in the criminal justice value chain. To this end, we have adopted the whole of government approach as articulated in NDS-1 and NDS-2, working tirelessly to deepen interagency cooperation and create a seamless network of shared intelligence and decisive action. The record number of Memorandum of Understanding signed during the last 5-year strategic plan speaks to that. This unified approach is not only limited to networks within Zimbabwe, but also across borders. This approach is our most potent weapon against the vices currently threatening our communities, specifically the scourge of drug abuse and heinous sexual abuse of minors. Our collaborative all-hands-on-deck strategy extends to every facet of law enforcement, allowing us to strike decisively at those who threaten our national fabric and social order, from drug peddlers and sexual offenders to the perpetrators of corruption and armed robbery. This unified front is specifically designed to dismantle the complex networks behind human trafficking, money laundering, and wildlife crime, while simultaneously restoring order to our roads by curbing traffic offenses. By dismantling the silos between agencies, we are ensuring that there is no safe haven for criminals anywhere in Zimbabwe. State-funded medical affidavits for survivors. To protect the rights of the vulnerable, we successfully spearheaded a strategic collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Child Care to abolish fees for medical affidavits. By advocating for the state to shoulder these costs, we have ensured that survivors of assault, gender-based violence, and other criminal acts no longer face long delays in bringing their cases to trial. This reform ensures that medical evidence in the form of an affidavit is a guaranteed right rather than a private expense. By ensuring that the inability to pay is no longer a barrier to justice, we have secured a more accessible, faster, and efficient path to justice. As we commit ourselves to the priority areas of the NDS2, it is essential to recognize how far we have come in the last 24 months. To understand our path to Vision 2030, let's take a look at the data of our transformation. Tackling the backlog. In 2024, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe was an institution under immense pressure. We handled over 107,000 cases, yet we faced a difficult reality. Our backlog was growing. We began that year with 8,800 pending cases and ended with nearly 12,500, a 41% increase in our workload that threatened to slow the wheels of justice. Our average clearance rate was approximately 67%, and we knew that to meet our national goals, a radical shift in efficiency was required. This milestone was attained in 2025, signaling a new era of performance for the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe. We declared war on backlogs and inefficiency, and the results speak for themselves. Despite starting the year with a massive workload of 40,000 cases in the first quarter, we didn't just maintain the status quo, we broke the cycle of accumulation and reduced our backlog significantly. By the end of 2025, we achieved what seemed impossible a year ago. We slashed our quarterly pending cases by 45%, ending the year with only 6,149 cases on the pending list. Our efficiency reached a new benchmark, climbing from the 60s in 2024 to a year high of 77.4% by the close of 2025. This is the embodiment of prosecutorial excellency through prosecutorial efficacy. The very promise is captured in our 2025 theme. The data tells a powerful story. We have successfully shifted a 41% backlog increase in 2024 to a remarkable 45% backlog reduction in 2025. This momentum is no accident. It is tangible proof that our strategic partnerships with fellow criminal justice actors, our efforts to decongest prisons, and our proactive use of fast-track courts are yielding real results. We reached a pivotal turning point in 2025 by operationalizing specialized anti-corruption courts at both the High Court and Magistrates Court. Simultaneously, we streamlined justice at the Magistrates Court by establishing dedicated fast-track courts for armed robbery, drug-related crimes, traffic offenses, wildlife crime, and sexual offenses. This is the direct result of unified command. Through the Criminal Justice Task Force, we have bridged the gap between policy and practice. As all the criminal justice actors come together into a singular strategic alliance, this is the whole of government approach in its highest form. By synchronizing the performance of these institutions and powering our operations through the IECMS digital system, we have ensured that our strategic interventions are no longer just policies on a piece of paper. Our policies have become the high-performance engines of a faster, fairer, and more transparent criminal justice delivery system, transforming the rule of law into a lived reality for every Zimbabwean. Our transformation under NDS1 has been historic. I thank our entire team for the grit and discipline that made it possible. We have made incredible strides, but the work of justice is never finished. We have come a long way, but our sights are firmly set on the long road still ahead as we transition into NPAZ 2. The 2026 call to action. Our theme for this year, enforcing prosecutorial accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability through effective prosecution of high-impact cases without fear or favor, is a deliberate handshake with the Judicial Services Commission's own theme for the year, which reads, using performance management and technology to ensure quality, inclusive, and sustainable judicial service. We recognize a fundamental truth. Quality judgments from the bench are contingent upon quality prosecutions from the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe. We cannot expect quality judgments without quality prosecutions. We should at all times bear that in mind. With these tools, the staff and the technology now in place, we no longer have excuses. We just need results. Let us deliver high-impact justice that secures the stability and peace that our people need to achieve Vision 2030. The 2026 strategy recognizes that criminal prosecutions foster accountability and stability primarily through deterrence and the maintenance of the social contract. The state's obligation is to ensure that violations of the law carry predictable and transparent consequences, thereby preventing a descent into vigilantism or private retaliation, which would inevitably degenerate into chaos and social disorder, which in turn has a bearing on the peace, security, and well-being of our people. In 2026, we must ensure that justice must not only be done, but must be done quickly. The goal for the 2026 to 2030 cycle is to achieve a clearance rate of 90% for all cases within set timelines. This requires a radical departure from manual file management and the unyielding commitment to the digital transformation of the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe. Our theme this year places the prosecution of high-impact cases at the very heart of our quest for national stability and prosperity. In the Zimbabwean context, these are not merely dockets. They are cases involving high-profile citizens, the misappropriation of significant public funds, or the dismantling of sophisticated organized criminal network and economic syndicates. As we transition from the foundations of NPAZ 1 to the implementation of NPAZ 2, our eyes are fixed on Vision 2030. This roadmap focuses on economic stability, inclusive growth, and innovation. However, as the development agenda pivots towards national procurement, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe must serve as a vigilant guardian. We must ensure that the procurement processes meant to empower our nation are not subverted by economic crimes that cripple our progress or environmental crimes that jeopardize our future. Let me be clear, those who undermine our economic stability, the tax evaders, and the money launderers will face the full unyielding wrath of the law. Furthermore, 2026 will mark a decisive crackdown on corporate non-compliance with environmental laws. Our theme for the coming year is therefore inclusive accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability. We must confront a painful reality. Zimbabwe loses approximately 1.5 billion to 2 billion per annum through illicit financial flows, according to the data from the African Development Bank and the Global Financial Integrity Reports. The country continues to lose immense wealth annually through illicit financial flows, precious resources that belong to the people, wealth that could be used to build hospitals, schools, and a modern economy. These leakages must be stopped. Let the message be clear to those who undermine our economy. Tax evaders and money launderers will face the full unyielding wrath of the law. Furthermore, 2026 will be a year of corporate accountability. These leakages must be plugged through aggressive prevention, meticulous investigations, and prosecution, as well as robust asset recovery. In 2026, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe will be more aggressive with regards to all cases submitted by the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZAC, and the Police Anti-Corruption Unit. Through the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe's commitment to effective prevention and robust asset recovery, we will ensure that what was stolen from the nation is returned to the nation. Let us reaffirm our commitment today that these cases will be handled with the highest professional integrity and evidence will be presented with the precision and quality required to secure convictions. We are here to ensure that crime does not pay and that justice serves as the bedrock of our economy. As we conclude the chapter of NDS 1, we step boldly into the era of NDS 2, a roadmap that leads us directly to Vision 2030. Our national focus has shifted towards economic stability, inclusive growth, innovation, and entrepreneurship. However, as the development agenda prioritizes national procurement, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe must act as a vigilant gatekeeper. We must ensure that public procurement, the very engine of our development, is shielded from the capture of economic criminals and those whose greed threaten our national environment. We will also aggressively prosecute companies that remain in non-compliance with environmental laws. Our theme for 2026 is therefore inclusive accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability. As we look towards 2026, let it be known that the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is expanding the front lines of justice. For too long, environmental crimes have been viewed as secondary offenses. This ends now. We recognize that the desecration of our land, the pollution of our water bodies, and the illegal exploitation of our mineral wealth are direct attacks on our national security and the livelihood of future generations. The era of corporate impunity is over. Going forward, we must ensure that there is a decisive prosecution of all companies that fail to comply with environmental laws, regardless of their size or stature. Whether it is the devastation caused by illegal mining activities, the discharge of toxic waste into the environment, or the brazen theft of our wildlife and timber, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe will act with resolve. We are not merely prosecuting a crime, we are defending the constitutional right of every Zimbabwean to a clean and healthy environment. Our theme, inclusive accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability, demands that those who profit from our natural resources must also be the primary guardians of their preservation. We will ensure that green crimes are met with red alerts across the legal system, utilizing the specialized environmental unit within the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe to fast-track these matters and secure restoration for our affected communities. A core component of the 2026-2030 strategy is the utilization of the Money Laundering and Proceeds of Crime Act to recover stolen wealth. During the period 2021 to 2025, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe managed to recover over 200 million United States dollars through forfeiture and preservation orders. The objective for 2026 to 2030 is to build on this by making asset recovery a primary policy goal rather than an afterthought. This involves intensifying financial investigations, intensifying cross-border cooperation to trace illicit transactions and offshore funds. Whistleblower protection. We advocate for the finalization of the Whistleblower Protection Bill, which remains a missing piece in the anti-corruption framework. Asset management. By establishing a robust mechanism to ensure that retained assets are used for the benefit of the community they were stolen from, such as funding public services and infrastructure projects. Colleagues, I must now turn our attention to a sober reality that weighs heavily on the heart of our nation: the rampant emergence of increasingly violent crimes. The rise in cases of extreme violence, particularly the cold-blooded commission of murder, is a challenge that demands more than just our condemnation. It demands that we evolve. We cannot meet 21st century brutality with antiquated methods. To confront this surge, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is radically advancing our prosecution techniques. We are moving beyond traditional testimony to embrace a more sophisticated forensic-driven approach. This includes the integration of DNA profiling, ballistic expertise, and digital footprint analysis to build cases that are airtight and indisputable. Our message to those who do not value the sanctity of human life is clear. Our reach is evolving, our tools are sharpening, and our resolve to secure justice for the victims of violent crime is absolute. We will ensure that the perpetrators of these heinous acts find no loopholes in our laws and no lenience in our courts. A different approach is now being taken in instances where accused persons attempt to evade justice by feigning illness or mental incapacity. Malingering, defined as the intentional production of false or exaggerated physical or psychological symptoms motivated by external incentives, has historically been used as a tactic to delay trials or secure favorable sentences. Research indicates that within legal context, as many as 17.5% of offenders feign mental incompetence to stand trial. The 2026 protocol for such cases emphasizes the need for thorough background checks, diverse interview techniques, and the gathering of collateral information from family members and community health services. The case of State versus Peter Dube, which was heard in the Bulawayo High Court, illustrates the complexity of this task. While the accused pretended to be mentally unsound during the trial, the court relied on empirical medical evidence from witnesses to reach a verdict. The National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is now working to enhance the skills of prosecutors in cross-examining expert witnesses on psychiatric issues. By removing the mental illness excuse for those who are fit for trial, the authority aims to ensure that murder cases are resolved with speed and finality. The National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe has also taken a firm stance on the rising tide of drug-related offenses. This requires a shift toward prosecuting the suppliers and organized syndicates behind the drug trade, rather than focusing solely on end users. The 2026 strategy aligns with the National Campaign Against Drug Abuse, treating these as high-impact cases that threaten the stability and health of the nation's youth. The primary function of the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is to honor the social contract between the citizens and the state. When citizens give up certain freedoms, they do so with the expectation that the state will provide protection and ensure a safe and orderly society. The mandate of enforcing prosecutorial accountability applies internally as well as externally. The Prosecutor General has established a monitoring and evaluation unit to oversee the conduct of officers. Currently, an internal audit of all dockets is being conducted through the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe countrywide to identify performance gaps. This demonstrates our commitment to transparency and responsiveness. There are no sacred cows in the fight against corruption. Prosecutors who sit on dockets, thereby delaying prosecution or engage in misconduct or abuse of their office, will face disciplinary action and prosecution. To achieve prosecutorial excellency, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is prioritizing ethics and sound judgment. Prosecutors must exhibit the highest standard of ethical behavior and be honest in their dealings. Continuous training. Institutionalizing the training of public prosecutors to equip them with specialized skills in financial crime, cybercrime, and forensic evidence. Performance management. Utilizing the performance management system to monitor case throughput, judge to prosecutor ratios, and the quality of legal submissions. Allow me to conclude by reiterating that the support we received from Treasury during NDS1 is an indicator that the government is prioritizing good governance, institution building, peace, and security. In turn, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe must now deliver on this commitment by ensuring that the allocated funds are used to enhance drivers of economic growth through effective prosecutions. Let my address today serve as a call to action for every member of the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe. The successes of the 2021 to 2025 period have laid a solid foundation, but the challenge of the 2026 to 2030 cycle are more complex and the expectations of the public are higher. The theme of prosecutorial accountability for inclusive prosperity and stability is not merely a slogan. It is a strategic imperative. Prosperity cannot exist without stability, and stability cannot exist without the rule of law. By prosecuting high-impact cases without fear or favor, the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe will ensure that the social contract is honored and that no one, regardless of their status or influence, is above the law. The integration of technology through the IECMS, the focus on asset recovery, and the commitment to internal ethics will transform the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe into a modern, professional, and accountable institution. As the authority moves forward into the 2026 legal year, the goal is clear. The National Prosecuting Authority stands as a guardian of the nation's future, dedicated to upholding the rule of law through efficient, transparent, and courageous prosecution. The journey to Vision 2030 is well underway, and in 2026, and the National Prosecuting Authority of Zimbabwe is ready to fulfill its constitutional mandate for the prosperity and stability of our motherland. I thank you.